Okay, we're about ready to get the meeting started. I think the food's gone. Normally we have plenty of leftovers, but I guess you guys ate more than we thought tonight. So I hope you enjoyed the meal. If you would, tell Sterling's thank you for the meal. We appreciate it, Sterling. Thank y'all. They always do a wonderful job. Before Randy takes the meeting over in a minute, I'd like to introduce some guests that we have with us tonight. We've got several that have come in. It's amazing what happens when you turn 100 years old. People come out of the woodwork. We're certainly glad to have them, though. We've got a few here from Triangle Insurance: John Bird, Dan Kent, and Dave Webster, Jim Werner. We're glad to have you all. From CoBank, we've got Tobias Carson. Tobias, thank you for coming. The Co-op Council, R.J. Gray. Thank you, R.J. You know, R.J. Gray and Jim Werner work together, but I noticed he pushed Jim on the Triangle. He wouldn't introduce him as a Co-op Council. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know what that says about you, Jim. Kent Prickett from Farmers Co-op in Pond Creek is here. We're glad to have him. He's General Manager, CEO. Brent Smith with Equity Marketing Association is here. Thank you. We've got John Swart from Carmen Co-op with Alan Nusser with him. John is the CEO there. Kyle Murrow from Bank Central. Thank you for coming, Kyle. Rocky Bell with Cenex. Thank you for coming, Rocky. Donovan Nichols and Angela. They're Nichols Trucking. He does all of our fuel hauling for us. Thank you, guys. Jay Lohman with Wheeler Brothers is here. We're glad to have him. Thank you for coming, Jay. Lynn Martin with Alva Review Courier is here. He's going to cover the meeting for us. And then we have Mike Meisenhammer with Lindbergh Vogel. You'll see him in a minute. He'll be filling in for our normal auditor, Todd Fluhoff, who had to be away for tonight. So we appreciate Mike for making a special trip from, where are you at? You're not at Dodge, are you? Hutchinson. Okay, at Hutchinson with Lindbergh Vogel. So we appreciate all of the guests that we have with us. Thank you all for coming up. If I happen to miss any, raise your hand and shout out. We'll give proper introduction to that. But we certainly appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you for coming out and taking the time to be here as part of this celebration with us. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Randy in a minute. Before we do, we're going to have 4 gifts drawn, and Randy and Tim are going to do that. We're going to save this one for last. We'll give a couple of you.
Just give 2 out right now.
Yep, you might tell what we'll do.
Okay,
$100 bills.
at this time, we're going to give out two drawings. It's a $100 bill because we're here for 100 years. So, first one.
Wait a minute. Now, you might tell them where they're going, how they figure it out. They got a blue ticket. Oh.
Supposed to shut the lid.
This goes on there. There we go. You're a novice, aren't you?
Does everybody have a blue ticket that they're looking at? I'll split it with you, Dan. Yeah, I hope you don't win now, because that's going to look really bad.
Can you read that?
Okay, the first number, 9029 369. 369. Right over there.
Hughes. I don't know her first name.
Not just tell them that's what we're giving away. $4 $100 bills, and then the Southern Tire Flavor.
Oh, we're gonna do 4?
2 down, 2 later.
Okay, second number, 9029 389. 389.
Of course, they got to leave there.
I just got word, we're gonna do 2 more $100 bills. How's that?
Right now?
Right now. $9029 343. Check this ticket.
343.
343. Check his ticket. Dan, I will see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah. He can drink the good coffee tomorrow morning.
Okay, the fourth one, 9029 318. 318.
Put your notes in there.
Hey, that one is mine.
Yeah, that's your notes. Okay.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask John Berg of the Triangle Insurance Company to come forward for a presentation to Ronnie.
Okay. On behalf of the Triangle Cooperative Service Company, I want to congratulate Farmers Cooperative Association on celebrating 100 years. That's quite an accomplishment. And more importantly, thank you for doing business with Triangle for 100 years now. Congratulations.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. I'd like to ask Tobias Carson of CoBank to come forward. Clap really loud because this is where we get our money.
No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. And like I said, it's quite an accomplishment to have succeeded through 100 years and maintained business. It tells you a lot about the management, the board, and especially the member patrons that have remained loyal to Co-op. And with that, we've got a couple things. We want to give you a plaque from CoBank in remembrance of the 100 year. So we appreciate that. Also, we have 2 checks that we would like to donate in behalf of Alva's Co-op's name to the Alva Fire Department and the Buffalo Fire Department in behalf of you guys in your 100 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tobias. That was really nice gesture. We got 2 $500 checks to the fire departments. Isn't that awesome? Give them a big hand. At this time, I'm going to ask Tim Ohm to come up to give proof of notice and declare quorum.
Mr. President, I do report we have enough members for a quorum.
Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. At this time, I will turn this meeting over to Mike Meisenheimer. He's from Lindbergh, Vogel, Pierce Ferris, our CPA firm. He will give the audit report.
Thank you, Randy. Ladies and gentlemen, I very much appreciate the opportunity to celebrate your 100th anniversary with you this evening. And just review briefly two of the financial statements that were included in our audit engagement this year. As we typically do, we'll take a look at the statement of operations as well as the balance sheets. Per your bylaw provision, our firm was engaged to audit all the basic financial statements and related footnotes and disclosures that are required under generally accepted accounting principles. And I'm very pleased to report that again this year, our firm has issued an unmodified or clean opinion, which simply means that your cooperative's financial statements, in our professional opinion, are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The first statement that we're going to look at briefly is the statement of operations, and I believe that that's the second statement in your packet this evening. The statement of operations simply summarizes your financial operating activity over the 12-month period ending at your fiscal year-end date or calendar year-end date of December 31st, 2016. One thing I might note before we begin, that effective April 1, 2016, your cooperative entered into a operating agreement with EMA to manage the grain operations. And as a result of that agreement, there's going to be components or elements of the financial statements between years that will not be comparable. But again, this evening we'll concentrate primarily on the 2016 numbers. You'll notice we begin with sales. The sales that were generated over the 12-month period were just under $15.3 million. After you subtract out the cost of sales, which is primarily the cost of inventories, your cooperative generated gross margins or profits on sales of just under $2.3 million. To the gross margins, we then add other operating income. Other operating income is the income that's generated through your local operations using your facilities and personnel. You'll notice the total other operating income for the year was just under $2.3 million. The largest item in this category is the related party income. This is the income that's generated through your operating agreement with EMA, which again became effective April 1 of 2016. Adding the other operating income to the gross margins on sales, your cooperative generated gross income from local operations of just over $4.5 million. We then deduct the operating expenses that are incurred in local operations. That includes all personnel costs, fixed expenses, which include insurance, interest, property tax, and depreciation, as well as all other operating expenses. They totaled right at $4.5 million, leaving earnings from local operations of $8,300. And you'll notice that that represents an improvement over a year ago by around $230,000. To the earnings from operations, we then add other earnings. These are earnings that are generated through your investments in both regional cooperatives as well as various limited liability companies. Total earnings for the 12-month period totaled about $834,000. And you'll notice that the majority of that is patronage dividends that you receive from regional cooperatives. Adding the other earnings to the local earnings, your cooperatives generated earnings from before income tax of $842,000. Income taxes is computed on all your non-member, non-patronage business per the IRS regulations, leaving net earnings for distribution to your balance sheet of $659,000. Patronage dividends is issued on those earnings, the patronage source earnings done with you, the members. Patronage dividends for the year were $317,000, of which 60% is being distributed in the form of cash in the amount of around $190,000. The remaining part of the earnings, the non-member, non-patronage business, is distributed to retained earnings on the balance sheet, net of income tax. The final comment that I'd like to make on the statement of operations, your cooperative computed the domestic production activities deduction, which is commonly referred to as the Section 199 deduction, and elected to pass that through to you, the members. That was reported on your 2016 1099 PATR in Box 6. That represents a deduction that you can apply directly on your tax return. It's already computed for you. The final statement that we'll conclude with is the balance sheet. Unlike the statement of operations, the balance sheet simply outlines your cooperative's financial position on the last day of the year. The top portion lists the assets that you own. The bottom portion summarizes the sources of financing of those assets. You'll notice the first category of assets, which are current assets, are items that are expected to be converted into cash in the next 12 months and are comprised primarily of cash, receivables, and inventories, and totaled on the last day of the year just under $4 million. Your investments, which include your investments in the corporate stock of regional co-ops and your investments in limited liability companies, including your investment in EMA, totaled just under $5.7 million. The property, plant, and equipment that's used in operations, net of accumulated depreciation, totaled right at $2.8 million. You had a small amount of other assets, leaving total assets on the last day of the year of $12.6 million. Those assets are in part financed through current liabilities, which are simply obligations that are expected to be paid out in the next 12 months, and just include your normal accounts, taxes, expenses payable, and current maturities of notes payable. They totaled on the last day of the year $2.4 million. The long-term liabilities on the last day of the year were right at $3 million, consisting primarily of your notes payable, capital leases, and grain contracts payable. And then you'll notice the remaining portion of the assets are financed through members' equity, which includes your ownership interest in the cooperative, and that totaled on the last day of the year $7.2 million, leaving liabilities and equity equaling total assets. At this time, I would open the floor for questions relating to either of the statements that we addressed this evening. Okay, seeing none, again, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to attend your celebration. We certainly want to congratulate you on 100 very successful years. And on behalf of our firm, Lindbergh Vogel Pierce Ferris, we want to extend to you our appreciation for the opportunity to serve as your independent auditors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the audit report. I have a motion. Is there a second? Oh, got a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, at this time, I believe I'll turn the meeting over to Ronnie for the manager's report.
Thank you, Randy. You know, 100 years is a milestone few businesses get to experience. It is important to remember the past, as we're doing tonight. It's also important not to get stuck in the past, but to continue to remain relevant to our customers and members. To accomplish this milestone, we have 100 years of history. In March 22nd, 1917, the first directors entered a petition for articles of incorporation and charter for the Farmers Cooperative Association of Alva, Oklahoma. The petition states, the number of directors or trustees shall be 5, and their names are Adam Vollmer, President, N.B. Litton. Secretary, A.O. Abbott. Director, A.R. Markham. Director, and C.A. Buchanan, Director, all of Alva, Oklahoma. These men came together to change their past. Their memories of problems in their businesses were their driving vision for a better future. As they now have done for 100 years, directors of this cooperative have kept a vision in front of them at all times. You know, and to stand corrected, I had this made out, and then we dug up an amendment to that petition that was made on March 28th. It's called the Amendment Articles of Incorporation that were signed 5 days later, March 28th, 1917. And it shows the board makeup as C. Roy Moore as chairman, N.B. Litton, secretary treasurer, Dal G. DeGear, director, Adam Vollmer, he's already got a demotion to director, and M.G. Nelson, director. So you may have heard both in your histories of looking at Farmers Co-op. This is the one that was actually finally recorded. And to serve as a member of the 1917 had to be the driving force behind the bold vision of the cooperative to get people to cooperate with their neighbor and accomplish what none of them could accomplish by themselves. We've asked a member that has a long history with this co-op to speak of the vision the Farmers Cooperative Association had that he was a part of beginning in the early 50s to the early 90s. Bob Davison has worked in several capacities for the co-op. He retired in 1993 as general manager. Bob was a respected leader in the industry. He was Triangle Insurance's company's manager of the year in 1985. Bob was a director of the Oklahoma Grain and Feed Association for several years and served as chairman in 1990. And we want to welcome Bob up here to talk about the vision that he could see as he took over or started working for the Alva Farmers Co-op that he was part of for around 40 years. Bob, it's good to have you.
Thank you, Ronnie. Well, looked out over this crowd. It's been a long time. It's been about 24 years, I think, since I've stood in front of a... Excuse me?
Hold it up to your mouth.
Blue moving. Can you hear me now? Good. But anyway, it's been 24 years since I stood out and looked over, and some of you people I've seen at those meetings too. But anyway, 100 years is a long time. And I know as you get the crowd, and that I was talking to Dale Dunnigan, who was one of my directors back there then, he was saying that he thought we was getting pretty close to that mark. But no, the first 30 years I couldn't say much about, but from the 30th on until the 75th one, I was associated with this co-op, and I'm just kind of hit the highlights. A man by the name of Jim Whitney was a general manager. He hired me, and I think I was probably one of the latter ones that he hired because I think he passed away the following year. But anyway, Truett Butler had come in here from Bond Bread in Enid, Oklahoma. He was keeping the books. Is that close enough? Can you hear me? But anyway, in that period of time, there was a lot going on. In 49, it's when they built the Bond Brick. I see you have a lot of history on your film there tonight. It made me go back to them days. But the office and the oil station and the appliance store all moved up there. And Jim Whitney did get to occupy that office up there in that corner at that time. I started in the good old cream and egg days. Edwin Chafee was the manager down there at that time, and there was some World War II boys coming home out of the service that was employed there. I worked with good crew people, but growth was about all we saw for 15 years. That cream station was in business 15 years before, and it took about that long to taper it out. Some of the biggest operators back in them days was the gentleman here that served your meal tonight, the Sterlings. His Sue was probably as big a milkmaid as he was there in north of Hartner, and performed and brought us probably some big volumes of cream in them days. Dave Arndt. And then there was a man named Emery Thurman up there, was probably some of the biggest egg men. And that was some of the products that we handled and served a lot of people, because everybody had cows and chickens at that time. But the growth just continued every year as we went out of that into 1951. I had to write these down because some of these dates I get a little mixed up with. But in 1951, we moved the cream station and the feed store up in the old Anthony Wholesale building. And at that time, they tore out and made room for the big 1 million bushel elevator A there on Santa Fe, and that was completed in 1954. And they also had built Knoll burnt in 49. They built it back in 49. And so every year it seemed like they was building something to take care of the membership. And I believe, if I recall, when you were reading that, they had about 51 members at the time they started the Farmers Co-op back in 1917. So it was very interesting that they seemed like they just had growing pains. The seed cleaner building was built in 1948. The oil station and the appliance store, and then the million bushel house at Alva. And I was trying to think, the last wood sheet iron elevator was the one in Alva, and when they made room for that 1 million bushel house, that's when they tore that down. And removed it. The other one was Knoll when it burnt. That was the last two I think they had. Well, I didn't go from the cream station to Ashley in 1959. And at that time, before that, when they shook up all the department heads, and I kind of remember this because Jim Whitney passed away and Truett Butler moved up to general manager. Edwin Chafee took over the appliance store. Oscar Hollis was in the oil station. Harry Fox was sent to Capron. Don Rush come to Alva and took over as superintendent of all elevators. That all happened back in there, and I ended up going to Ashley in 59. They built 2 elevators that year, one in Oakland and one in Ashley. And I was out there for about 12 years. I come into the office in 71. But they were building all the time to try to stay up and provide the membership with the service that they was requiring. And it took about 15 years to close out the cream station. That was one of the better items in them days. But then they expanded and rent and leased the Alva terminal over there. It was Flour Mills of America. It had 5 million bushel of storage, and it had 3 million flat storage on it, which I think utilized one time. I don't know where they ever got it empty, but it was destroyed. The sheet iron was moved to MacArthur and 10th Street for a shopping mall in Oklahoma City. I know they tore it all down and moved it. So, but at that time, I think we felt like, the board did, that they had all the space and stuff it took to handle the wheat and grain in our trade area. Had the 5 outlying stations and the 2 elevators here in Alva. And at that time, in 71, I come in to the office as bookkeeper. Rick Fox followed me at Ashley. Bill Utterback, I didn't see Bill here tonight, but he was at Avard and was there for years. Eddie Boham, I guess I couldn't talk about the co-op without talking about Eddie, but he was I think maybe the longest employee we had. He run the old elevator for so many years, but he worked at the feed mill and along with Bill Winchell. Them was two workhorses. They would work all day and then scoop a car of coal off at night for 50 cents a ton. them was workhorses. And there's still some. I see Carl Parsons here tonight. I don't know how many years he's been with us, but 40, yeah. And he's crowding Eddie. He's going to get in there. Stands around. But, you know, over the years, it seems like that all we done was just try to keep ahead of what the demands was of the trade area. And as some of it faded out, and the last thing that I recall, and I don't know, well, Dale Dunnigan's here, I believe, Jimmy Allen, they were on it, but the board of directors, when they had taken about all the produce and grain and stuff was all handled, there wasn't no more dollars to be picked up, and that's when we got into the Ampride business. And we went for quite a while. That was on the board table for a long time. And we finally got into that Ampride, and it was put in there because we was not being able to get money ahead enough to retire estates and stockholders that had deceased that was built up on us and was a monster there on our balance sheet. So we done this in hopes so we could get some of that money just going through town to pay off those estates and some of those that had been on the books for way too long. But that didn't work out as well as deal, and that's about the end of my era. I checked out in '93, and I guess that's a thing of the past now, isn't it? But anyway, it was the intentions that would be some funds or some income that they could use to retire stock and take it into the corporation. But with that, it was just a build. We just kept expanding all those years as kind of take care of that. But I'll just right now, I guess, ask, is there anybody in the crowd that worked with me or through those years? Would you please stand up? Thank you. A good bunch of boys, girls. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. You know, it's wonderful to be able to have Bob here and be able to reminisce a lot of that history. You know, when you look at Bob's history in the late 40s to the early 50s to 93, it covers a large span of the co-op. And we've got another speaker that's going to pick up where Bob left off. But you know, I'm going to need some help to introduce our next speaker. I'm going to ask John Bird and Dan Kent to come up and give me a hand with this introduction. John Bird is the CEO of Triangle Companies of Enid, and Dan Kent is Vice President Value Added Services with Triangle Companies. And we sure welcome y'all to our celebration. Would you introduce for me?
Thank you, Ronnie. It's good to be with you, and I congratulate you too on your 100 years. That's a wonderful accomplishment. You know, as we think about that and what all it takes to make these organizations operate like they have, it takes the Bob Davidsons, it takes a lot of people, a lot of employees, boards of directors to make it happen. And in keeping with that, one thing that Triangle does each year is recognize a cooperative director that plays a vital role in keeping the cooperative system strong for the future. Triangle Cooperative Service Company recognizes one director's hard work and commitment each year with the Oklahoma Cooperative Director of the Year Award. And I'm pleased to announce to you the 2016 Oklahoma Cooperative Director of the Year is Randy Sweatfeger, President of the Farmers Cooperative Association of Alva. Randy, if you would... Yeah, if you'll go around on the other side of the table, I'll embarrass you a little bit more here. Karen, would you like to come up here with him? You're welcome to join he and John up here. Randy began his service on the Farmers Cooperative Association's board in 1991 as an associate director. He has since served 7 years as director and 2 terms as president, totaling 17 years as a full board member. Randy's leadership in 2006 and 2007 guided the board of directors to focus on the cooperative's future by rebuilding working capital, selling unproductive assets, and reducing long-term debt. The board faced tough and sometimes unpopular decisions. However, Randy was willing to put in the work and meet with the cooperative's members to explain how the decisions would help stabilize their future. Supporting employee training and embracing advancing technology have both been priorities to Randy. He believes all employees need proper training to ensure they're qualified for their position, as well as to maintain a safe work environment. The cooperative has made numerous improvements throughout Randy's tenure. The agronomy department has experienced significant growth. It has gone from 2 employees and 2 floaters to 6 employees and 5 floaters, as well as an increase in the number of acres and services provided. In addition to the growth, the department has upgraded its technology with modern injection systems, GPS, and auto steer. They also adhere to a systematic rotation schedule to maintain aging equipment and allow for the purchase of new and updated equipment. The co-op has added new fuel systems with improved software at both Alva and Buffalo locations. Moisture testers and automatic probes are now at every location for the safety of their employees, but also to benefit their members. By having these technologies available, all members can expect fair and consistent results. Serving his community through volunteerism is important to Randy. He was a member of the Capron Volunteer Fire Department for 27 years. He coached several of his children's competitive sports teams, including baseball, basketball, and football. This led to serving on the recreation board for many years. He was also a member and president of the Alva School Board for several years. Currently, he is a member of the Northwestern Foundation, Ranger Dugout Club, and Alumni Association. Randy and his wife Karen have been married for 3 years and enjoy attending NASCAR races. Together they have 5 children, son Taylor and his wife Jill, son Wade and his wife Haley, daughter Shaylin Melvin and her husband Matt, daughter Heather Plumley and her husband Alec, and daughter Jennifer Hanford. They are also the proud grandparents of 6 grandchildren, Allie Joe, Cody, Caleb, Matthew, Chloe, and Kinley. John Berg, President and CEO of Triangle Cooperative Service Company, will now present Randy with the Oklahoma Cooperative Director of the Year Commemorative Award and a $300 Visa gift card in honor of his dedication and service to Farmers Cooperative Association.
Thank you, Dan and John. We appreciate that. It's a special honor to get to work with someone like Randy.
Dan Heaton's going to give you $100.
In case you didn't hear it, Tim suggested Dan Heaton give Randy $100.
A good friend would.
You know, it's, Randy, I was going to introduce you, but they did such a much better job than I could of doing that and went into more depth than I probably would have. So I'm going to let you go ahead and give your vision of what you've seen since you've been on the board.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. It was totally unexpected. I had zero idea. I'm so sure my wife was in on that. But don't do it all by myself. You know, I've got lots of help. I've had lots of help. You know, I got on about the time Bob was getting off. So that's about the way it works. You know, Jim Allen, you know, Dale Dunnigan, Bob Nida. Well, look at that picture over there. I actually had hair. That's how long I've been here. Some say it's probably too long, but anyway, you know, Mike Martin, Kevin Murrow, Randy Lancaster, Dwayne Jackson, my current board now. You know, it takes everybody to make this happen. I appreciate you guys. My memories maybe not as up as Bob's was. I got on in the early 90s and things were a little tough. I felt like maybe I was thrown in the wolves, Jim and Dale. I think the second year I was there, those guys put me as president. And I think it's probably because they knew better. But they had enough faith in me to do it, and I appreciate that. I learned a lot at an early age. So, you know, some of our things that we went through in that time, as much of you probably remember, but, you know, we had issues like, you know, the trucks were getting bigger, and the elevators were just the same size. So we had to go through and make all the openings, front, sometimes back, to get the trucks in. We had to get the trucks off the highways. The lines were so long that they were backed up on the highways. So we sped up the elevators, make them faster so everybody could dump their grains, get in and get out and do it safely. Plus, you know, the financial statement, it's getting, or back then, it was real important to maintain a good, solid financial statement, because our good folks, you know, are at CoBank, you know, that's, thank God for those folks, but they stood behind us and we worked through some tough times and made it to where we are today, which is unbelievable. You know, I've never seen this company as good as we are today. So that's something to be proud of for everybody, because it is your company. You know, some of the things we did, like I said, we raised the doors, we sped the legs up, put a new leg up at Capron to utilize the space and speed everything up there. We fixed up the terminal so we could load 27 car. That was in the middle 90s. Today, it's almost obsolete because of Santa Fe, but we still use it somewhat. We tried new ventures. You know, we some of them I'd rather not talk about. Some of them good. So we like Bob. Well, or actually, what they said in the report. It came a time when that financial statement was tough. We had to sell some assets. Probably not the best or easiest thing we've ever done. Pretty tough. Knowing how everything was put there. And, well, you know, several things contributed to that. CRP grass came in, so everything out west, some of that wheat ground got turned to grass, which means less bushels. So we sold some assets, paid off some notes. Pretty tough thing to do there. But we got through it. Moved the tire shop up behind Ampride. We bought that property from Mr. McCosker. It was a trailer. So when we did that, that opened up a little bit more space for the people at the hardware store. So it gave the tire store more room, so that was a win-win. We started some things, leasing program, you know, for the fertilizer equipment. That stuff doesn't get cheaper. So we partnered up with a cooperative in Minnesota. So we rotate, get some equipment in here. Merle helped me out every 3 years. Every 5 years. And I believe we have 2 rigs with them now. Is that correct? So that's a good way to keep our equipment up so it's usable for us. So we did that. We also acquired buffalo. The intent when that happened was it seemed like at buffalo the protein in the wheat was always better. So we hope that we could improve the quality of our wheat with their wheat and make it better. So I feel very good about that. That seems to work. I hope the buffalo folks think so too. So, you know, both those guys, Bob and they did say it's hard to look at the future and know what to do. You know, we try to keep up with y'all's needs. What's going to happen in 5 years? What's going to happen in 10? What crops are you going to grow? What do we need to handle? You know, I think our folks do a super job, from the elevator folks to the tech folks to the girls in the office to our manager. I think you need to give them a big hand. When I started this, I was the youngest. Bob, I was a pup. Didn't know Sikkim. Well, I still don't know Sikkim, but now I'm getting to the point where I'm one of the oldest. I've seen a lot of things happen. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Most of them are good, I'll tell you that. Our job hadn't changed. We still have to look into the future and try to provide whatever we see fit that you all need to keep this thing going for the next 100 years. So, thank you. That's it.
We appreciate Randy for all that he's done for the co-op and to keep the vision necessary to help the co-op remain relevant. Let me introduce the directors seated up here with Randy. Jared Bates, current Vice President. Tim Ohm, Secretary. Kenneth Waugh, Director. Darrell Buckholz, Associate Director. Steve Sneary wasn't able to be here tonight. So we appreciate those guys, the time they put in, and the work that they do for it. It's not a one day a month job, I'll guarantee you. They several of them just got back from a couple of days. Go ahead. Several of them just got back from a CoBank meeting in Wichita. And one of the things that we did there, we had a speaker, Mike Weinmeier, I think was his last name. The first blind man to ever climb Mount Everest, among other things. And CoBank is sponsoring his group, No Boundaries, No Barriers. What is it? No Barriers. No Barriers. And one of the things that they're doing, because they service the Midwest, the farming areas, they're asking communities to nominate a foreign veteran of the Army, of the services, a service veteran, I'll get it out, wounded warrior, there we go, for this project that can go with this blind man that has led quadriplegics, paraplegics, and others on other adventures. He's got a program that really does these guys a lot of good for their confidence. And they want someone in local communities that they serve to be nominated for this. So if you've got anybody that you know in this area that might be a candidate for that, please get the name to us and we'll get it to Tobias and Cobank. I think it would be wonderful if we've got some people in that need. I think you had to be there to see this guy and listen to his story, but it was truly amazing the things that he does with the handicapped people. So if we have that opportunity, please contact us in that. Bob had mentioned that putting the Ampride in, and Randy had talked about the tough times. That was one of the assets that we sold. But when we sold it, we kept the rights to sell fuel. And for the last 10 years, 9 years probably, Cenex has had some really good years that they paid tremendous patronage on those gallons that we had. So that investment that the co-op made, even though we don't own the co-op anymore, we have benefited tremendously over the last 8 or 9 years because of the patronage, the cash portion, and the equity that we have in Cenex. It's been a tremendous cash cow for us, if you will. It's augmented our income in ways. I think Bob had envisioned it being augmented in other ways, but you never know what the future is going to bring. So we appreciate the work that Cenex has done over the last years, and Rocky Bell representing them tonight. We thank y'all. We got a check from them about $158,000, or the patronage, the total patronage was for this year. So even though it's going down, it's still a big boost to us. Before I leave the introductions, I want to take this opportunity to recognize our employees that are here tonight. Would our managers please stand up? The managers. Okay, this group, we appreciate them tremendously. I'm going to introduce them one at a time and let them introduce any employees that came tonight, and if they've got anything they'd like to say, go ahead. Because she's the closest, not because she's a lady, but because she's the closest here, we're going to introduce Beverly Means, the manager out at Buffalo, and I'll let her introduce employees and talk about Buffalo for just a second.
I've enjoyed working for the co-op. Actually, this year and this month, I've been with the co-op for 10 years, and I've had a lot of jobs, but this is one that feels like home, and it's all family, and that's what I like about it. And my customers are like family, my employees are like family, so I've enjoyed working here, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I have one employee here tonight, Britt McNeil. You'll stand up. She's my secretary. I'm excited. I like my job. So.
Beverly was made manager 4 years ago now? 4 or 5? 5?
Almost 5.
Okay. She's done a super job. We appreciate her and the Buffalo employees and the crowd that follows her. She gets more members. We probably signed up more new members from Buffalo in the last 3 or 4 years than we have in Allen. So she's done a super job. The next person is Adam Kelly. He runs the farm supply store. And you've been there how long, Adam?
I've been with the co-op now for, 21 years this spring. I've got to introduce my hardest working employee. She made it here tonight, of course. I'm glad she did. Carol Powers. Carol's pretty sure she's been here 29 years now, and she could retire any time. She's getting pretty close. hate to lose her, but I'm sure glad we still have her. She's,
That does have to have board approval before she could do it.
if you take a look at this table here at the back room, you can kind of see some of our memorabilia. We've got, some of this belongs to her, some of it belongs to the co-op, some of it belongs to other people, but we kind of had a good time kind of collecting this stuff and bringing it out, dusting it off, and you know, it shows a little age, but it also shows a little experience, and you know, some of those products aren't even in production anymore, but we've got some of our new stuff there. We've got flowers that just came in this past week. We've got our feed, our fertilizers, our mulches, the same things that were sold years and years ago may not have the same relevance, but we're hoping what we're selling today does. That includes our service. I can't say enough good things about the co-op, and I have to kind of gloat a little bit about my employees and the kind of service that they bring to our community and to our members. If there's anything we can help you with, we'll sure try and see what we can do. And if we can't help you, we'll try to send you somewhere that might be able to. We're glad to have you all as members, as customers, as friends and family. It's been fun, and we hope to keep going with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I see Miles Peterson. He's our production supervisor, superintendent of all of our elevators. He's done a tremendous job. He's been here for a few years as well. How long, Miles?
35, you start next month.
35. We have trouble keeping him. Go ahead.
I think I've got all my guys here tonight except one. Vince lives in Cherokee, and we found out this winter he's got cancer. So he's working through it. We're working with him, getting through everything, and he's hanging in there. So we wish him the best. But I told him I didn't think he needed to do tonight. So anyhow, we wish him the best and we pray for him. So I'm going to start up here. Michael, would you stand up? Michael takes care of elevator B. We put him in charge of that kind of last fall when we went with the Hank, and we needed somebody over there to take care of stuff. Doing a great job. Chase Sandoval, he helps Michael. Good guy, willing to learn, does anything you ask of you. We're tickled to have him. So, coming down the line, here's old Carl. Thank you for being here long as Carl's been here 47 years, 1968, I know when he started, so whatever that is. 49 years. 7 Hopefully I have Carl. And on the other side over here, Brock, he does kind of a little bit of everything I ask of him. Takes care of Ashley, and he helps me do some projects, so he's been here a couple of years. Glad to have him. Ryan Ashman's been there, I think, almost a year. Takes care of Hopeton for us, and tickled to have him. Brady, he's been here a year and a half, Brady, 2 years. He helps Carl in elevator A, and he's kind of learning the ropes there, so we're glad to have him. Dick can get more done than 3 guys before lunch. So he's helped me off and on for the last, how many years, Dick? 6 years. And when I go to Capron, Dick goes with me, so I'm not letting him go anywhere else. So thank you guys. I appreciate the work you do. Thank you, Merle Ridgway, Grundy. How long have you been here, Merle?
Oh, I'm one of the younger. I've only been here 32. So.
32.
Anyway, doesn't seem like 3, but they say 32, so I guess that's it. Lynn Donnelly's here. He's one of the applicators. I think he's been here about 15 years, probably. Then we have Matt Campbell. And he's been here, 4 or 5 years, probably? And Rick Rose, he's probably been here, 3 years? 3 years. They kind of work in our sales department, and they help us on operations also. We try to get them out so they can meet all these farmers, and bring all that good information back to us. But that's about it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Charlotte. This is Charlotte Merle. You don't ask her how old she is, but I'm going to ask her to tell us how long she's been here anyway.
I've been here 36 years. Melody works in the office with me. She's been here 34 years. And Taylor has been over 5 years.
You know, Charlotte and Melody have been together a long time, and I'm not sure if Caitlin is in awe as I am of watching those two work and seeing how much they can get done, but it's amazing what they've done over the years, so we appreciate what they do. Next is Tasha Hamill. She's the manager at the Tire Center, Empire Tire Center. We had two guys, soon as Tasha went to work there, two guys left, retired on her. John Millage, who had 25 years about, and we have one employee, I'm going to let Tasha introduce, but also retired. Go ahead, Tasha.
Well, I'm kind of offended. I've been here a year and a half, so thanks for asking, honey. Mike, stand up. No, stand up. I guess I'll tell you what to do tonight. Mike retired on December 31st out of 44 years of service. Yeah. Every day he's there, either in the mornings or the afternoon, getting coffee. So don't worry, it still comes around.
I gotta get something out of it.
Which leaves Jeff Bush as our most experienced co-op employee at the Tire Center, going on 4 years. He's our alignment check. And the newbie on the block, with just as much experience as Mike, is Henry, who's been here a little over a year. We have 3 boys, that's what we call them. 20-year boys, well, I guess not Burl, Burl's older, that has started working with us, so come out and see us.
Thank you, Tasha. I hadn't missed anybody, have I, Charlotte? I got everybody. Good, good. Okay, thank you all for making them feel welcome and the job that they do. You know, this board has a vision and a budget. It's terrible to have a vision like we do and the budget that we do, but that's a fact of life. And the budget is for assets to replace and acquire. The seed cleaner at Buffalo has been envisioned for several years, and the budget finally allowed us to replace a 40-plus-year-old clipper cleaner that had been good, served its time, but it was inefficient and slower, certainly slower than the new one that we got. And if you watch the slides, you'll see the new one come up every once in a while. So we do have some pictures of it. Even after a late start, Beverly and her crew were able to clean more bushels with fewer man hours and at better quality than they had before. So it's working real well. The members have been very pleased, and we've attracted some cleaning opportunities from outside the normal trade area that brings wheat seed in to be cleaned. Now, I'm looking forward to having it run a full season to see what it can really do and have a year under the belts with the experience. So I think it's going to work real well this year. The thing is, you guys have to produce seed to clean, Gary. At Buffalo, we need to be sure you get a rain that we're able to do that. So keep doing the rain dance. The board has joined with other co-ops from to form Northwest Investments, which is a terminal fertilizer storage unit that we've gotten involved with, and they'll handle rail and truck opportunities to purchase large quantities of dry fertilizer at opportune times. Our partners in this investment are Burlington Co-op, Helena Co-op, Wacomas Land Run Co-op, and Weatherford Co-ops. And we feel, the group feels that this storage will give us a consistent product for our members during peak times and opportunities to buy. And the industry is adapting to current and future farm practices that will allow producers to haul and apply their crop nutrients as they plant. The storage facility is located at Ames and will service our members and our company's application needs as well. We'll be operational in this highly automated facility by the end of March or maybe a little into April, it looks like now. Our cooperative is 20% owner in this $5 million plus facility. We have 10,000 tons of storage at this time, 2 5,000-ton domes, and if you've been watching the slides, you'll see those domes as well when they pop up. It has been built to be added on to at minimal expense, using the legs, rail, and truck unloading tracks that are the biggest part of the original cost of this project. And we can add up to 4 more domes to the 2 existing domes as this growth comes in that we're envisioning. And that's a vision for expansion as it's needed. I feel like we've done a good job there. We'll see what comes about when it starts, but we feel real good with it. At last year's meeting, I announced that Farmers Co-op of Alva had joined Equity Marketing Alliance. Mike mentioned it in his presentation of the audit. EMA was in the process of building a shuttle train loader in Medford. The Chisholm Trail Terminal was operational in October the 16th of 2016, and through that time frame in October, the middle of October to the end of January, they had averaged loading 4.5 shuttles per month, which is the industry standards very good. It's very efficient train loader. The consistent shipments plus investments in wheat storage opportunities that we refer to as the carry market has generated nice profits for EMA through February. The partnerships in CTT are EMA and Comark and Farmers Grain Company of Pond Creek, of which Kent Prickett is the CEO, and we're glad to have him here tonight as well. In February, EMA and Comark voted to merge. They're going to merge the 2 grain marketing groups to form Comark Equity Alliance. Comark is the sister, if you will, to EMA in Kansas. And this merger will span 3 states, 30 cooperatives. A member of Comark Equity is right on the Nebraska border. They cover the central and southeast Kansas. EMA covers north Oklahoma to south Oklahoma. And a member in Texas has the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandles, and into southwest Kansas. This CEA marketing group will have the producers' members capable of producing 155 million bushels of grain a year, as they did last year when we combined the totals of both groups. The origination of 155 million bushels of wheat, corn, milo, soybeans, and canola positions us and our partners in the top tier of grain marketers in the United States. That's something we can be proud of. In 1917, Producers with a Vision started a co-op because not one of them had the resources to fulfill that vision alone. Through our 100-year history, our vision has remained fixed on the bigger picture available in the future. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Not one of our producers and not one of our local cooperative neighbors has the resources to take on the marketing and transportation of 155 million bushels of grain, of their cooperative's grain, in 3 states, no less. The Farmers Cooperative Association of Alva has had the good fortune to have good men with vision. From Roy C. Moore in 1971 to Randy Swartfigger in 2017. I guess that's 1917 to 2017. As board presidents, and all had good directors that have led the members in Alva and Buffalo areas with great vision and leadership. 100 years is a milestone your cooperative has now experienced. And with thoughtful members putting their investment into the hands of capable and caring directors, the vision will continue. We strive to remain relevant to the ever-changing customer and member needs that we see at the Alva Co-op. Now, in 2017, we have become a partner in a multi-state marketing group, a partner in a multi-co-op fertilizer group to source overseas and domestic fertilizer. We own part of an insurance company, Triangle. We own part of a bank, which is Cobank. Only in America and only through cooperatives can that happen. Thank you for your support in being here to help us celebrate our first 100 years. We begin the next 100 tonight. And may they at that time have an even better celebration when they celebrate the second 100 years. So I thank you for allowing me to be part of it. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Ron. Nobody has said this, but you've got a really, really good manager for this company. I think he deserves a big hand. Needless to say, kind of makes our job easier. So, makes us look good. That's what I want. But anyway, serious note. Let's do director elections. Right now, the nominating committee of Dennis Emmel, Franklin Murrow, and Clinton Neiswanger. I will ask Dennis Emmel his report for position 1.
I'd like to nominate Tim Holmes.
Nominating committee has nominated Tim Ohm. Is there any nominations from the floor? Okay, well, I'm sorry, I took it for granted. Tim is on the board right now. Tim, stand up. He is the current board member, in case anybody didn't realize that. Is there any nominations from the floor? Any nominations from the floor? If not, I would entertain a motion to put Tim in and do the acclamation.
So moved.
I got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to go for position 2, which is held by Steve Snary. And Steve has chosen not to run again. He has some time restraints, some family issues. You know, he's got a lot of things on his plate. And he has chosen to step down. We want to thank him for his service. He brings a whole unique perspective to the board. So I really appreciate what he did for us. At this time, I'd ask the nominating committee for position 2.
I'd like to nominate Darrell Buckholz.
Nominating committee nominated Darrell Burkholz. Darrell, stand up. He's been an associate on the board for 2 years. So, is there any nominations from the floor?
I move nomination cease, then we elect him by acclamation.
Oh, thank you. There's been a motion that nomination cease. Putting in due to acclamation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Right now, I think we'll tackle the nominating committee. I think Dennis, he's been on here for 3 years, correct? Dennis is going to go off. So I need a nomination for the nominating committee. Is everybody aware of what we do? I'm pretty sure you are. That's why nobody's holding up their hand. But anyway, we're on a 3-year term. First year, you're number one, second year, 2, the third year, you go off. Third year, you're the chairman. But you also should provide your nominee to get off. I'm just kidding.
I've approached a young man from the Buffalo area. He hasn't agreed to go on yet, so I'm working on
Have you don't know if you will
it.
yet?
He didn't say yes or no.
Okay.
You were so strong. I did. He told me he talked to you and me.
Oh, I have talked to him.
So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Is there any nominations? Any neighbors you don't like? Just kidding. Well, is it okay with the membership if the board approves somebody when somebody says they will do it? Does anybody have a problem with that? If so, state now, because that's what we're going to do if nobody wants to do it.
I move that you nominate the first sucker you can,
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move forward. Just, is there any old business? Is there any old business? Is there any new business?